are well on our way to taking on the first of the island's bosses, but after completely messing up the breeding last time, I was on a mission to tame more boss fighters in an attempt to fix the mutation lines, so that we can ascend to our next challenge on the road to taking on all of the arcs and facing the Genesis simulations. After yesterday's mishaps with breeding, I had messed up the mutation lines of my boss armies, so today I knew I had a mission retaming everything again. So wasting no time, I jumped onto Frostbite, heading out towards the snow in hopes of taming another rhino, as well as a Yeti if I could, but I was not ready for what I was about to come across. However, before then, I had already found a female rhino, but that joy was quickly taken away as dire wolves chewed through her. Now, at the end of the previous day, I had found a powerful pistol, so I tested it out on a Carno running around, and I have to say, it was better than I expected. But this is where things started to get dark. Not just the night time, but due to limited vision, I had to scour the ground, and whilst I did, a Palovia leaped out, knocking me off and leaving me stunned, until finally, I was able to hop back on again and fly off quickly, barely escaping with our lives intact. Now I knew I had to be careful of that. This search wasn't going to be as easy as I expected, but it seemed I wasn't able to get high enough before another one dove towards me, and this time, it wasn't just my life that was taken, but we also lost Frostbite. With no more flyers bred up and desperate to get my stuff back, I jumped on the back of the Executioner and ran off to get all of my inventory back. And after a long run, we were approaching the Palovia spot, and I didn't realise that they reburrowed, so once again, I was knocked off and watched as everything attempted to chomp down on me. But luckily, my barrow was mutated and bred for this, taking out all of the creatures around me, until finally mounting the Executioner and reclothing myself in fur armour, just saving myself from freezing to death by a smidge. The loss of Frostbite though was sure felt, and if I wanted to tame creatures without too much worry, I had to tame myself another RG, something else I had to add to the list now, but this was just a minor setback, as around this area and a lot of the map, there are plenty. To make things easier though, I ran over to the volcano, which is much easier than where I was, and spotted one rather quickly, and on the back of the Executioner, this was an easy knockout, taking them down and taming them up quick. But straight after this, I spotted another, which didn't matter to me as this was a breeding pair now, so I could tame them and have as many backups as I needed. Soon enough, they were also tamed, and now was probably the time to ride back to base and breed some flyers as backup, which I have to say I love the colours on this one. But that is, however, not what I did, as I wanted to complete my mission today, so I went into the redwoods in search of some bears. The good thing about this is, I don't need really strong ones anymore, as I can breed the mutations onto these and then move over the mutations onto the strong stats of the other bears, so it shouldn't take too long, and boy was I right. Straight away we had a female, so I placed down the trap, took out a terror bird and quickly knocked out our first one, soon followed by a male which we did the same too, and just like that, we were heading home with one bear in saddle and one bear taming up. I was sure we could complete this today. Once I arrived back, I got straight onto breeding my new RGs, whilst building more lights as it was getting quite dark around my base. But soon enough, I had the breeding pair and was flying off on my imprinted RG, this time in search of more treasure. Again, not great treasure, don't know if it's particularly worth it on the island, but I did get a nice Dodic saddle and some flak boots that won't go unnoticed. But as I collected my male bear, Troodon began attacking and Microraptors knocked me off until I was put to sleep. But still alive, and after waking up, a Megatherium was now trying to get involved, which led to a fierce fight that was luckily won by me as I began to pick up my trap. Now, although this didn't go too well before, I knew I had to brave the snow again to tame a female rhino and some Uterannuses, so I headed off searching everywhere, and soon enough, we were in front of a strong looking Ute. But it took me too long to place down my trap, and once I was ready, they were nowhere to be seen. Not long after though, I spied a female rhino, and although I couldn't trap it in myself, I hid in and around the trap, allowing me to knock it out easily, and leaving it with some food as I flew off once again in search of some Utes. I flew around for a good while, finding nothing but a nice mammoth saddle and a blue drop, until I spied a strong Anki on its own, which I had to knock out, and just like the rhino, I left it taming up as I carried on my search. After a while, the Anki had tamed up, so with no luck so far on the Ute front, I picked them up, and it was not long after that I had finally spotted one, and managed to trap relatively easily, and we were finally taming our first Uterannus. Whilst this was taming up, I was searching now for a female, and sooner than expected, we had one, which was going well as I attempted to tame it without a trap, now that I felt strong. However, this didn't quite go my way, as it ran into a rhino which took it down, and so the hunt was back on. Finally though, I had another one, and making sure to set down a trap this time, the taming process began. But I was constantly being fear-awed, which is a real issue I have every time trying to tame these things. Eventually though, after a lot of time running and flying around, I managed to get it in, trapping our female, and finally knocking it out, whilst finding an Ovis right next to them that I absolutely destroyed with my new pistol, for its mutton of course. As everything tamed up, one by one I collected them, and I flew back home knowing that my job today was done, and we were looking great on our journey to taking on the bosses of the island. But as I got back, I made a quick start breeding up a proper breeding pair for the dire bears to start for the next day, and with that, I called it a night. If you'd like to see me record these videos live, then make sure to check out my streams right here most Wednesdays and Fridays, with some occasional weekend streams. These are weekly videos that will follow this story, and don't forget to hit that like button if you want to help this channel grow. I really do appreciate it, and finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the content here, and I will catch you all in the next one.